Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Om Agyantimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 1, Verse number 8. Bhavan Bhishmascha Karnascha Kripascha Samitinjayaha Ashwathama Vikarnascha Somadatti Jayadrathaha. In my army there are heroes like your good self, grandfather Bhishma, Karna, Kripacharya, who is ever victorious in the battle, Ashwathama, Vikarna, Bhurishrava, and Jayadrath, the king of Sindhu. So last time we discussed about Karna. The next warrior mentioned by Duryodhan, who is part of his army, is Kripacharya. Kripacharya was born in the lineage of famous sage Gautam Rishi. Gautam Rishi had a grandson whose name was Shirdavan, and he was also a saint and very expert in the art of archery. He became so powerful that Indra became very concerned and sent a very beautiful Apsara or damsel whose name was Janapadi to distract the celibate saint. Unfortunately, Shardavan was distracted by seeing this beautiful damsel and lost some control and thus discharged some semen that fell on some weeds in the forest. He felt ashamed of what had happened and went into the forest to perform penances to repent for his wrongdoing. However, from that semen there were two children born, a boy and a girl. So we see that there was this technology of children being born out of a mother's womb in that time as well. The king of Hastinapur, Maharaj Shantanu, was passing by from that area and he saw these two children and took them to his. He named them Kripa and Kripi. Kripi was the girl. Later on, Shardvan Rishi, when he came to know about the birth of children, he came and identified them and personally performed the various rituals. As Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj Ji explains in his commentary, that Kripa later became renowned as a great warrior. Shardvan Rishi personally endowed Kripa with expertise in the science of archery and other arts. Kripa was exceedingly valiant and pious. In the battle of Mahabharat, he fought on the side of the Kauravas. After the battle, Maharaj Yudhishthir appointed him to train Prince Parikshit. He was one of the three main warriors who survived the battle of Kurukshetra from the side of the Kauravas. His sister Kripi was married to Drona, from whom Ashwathama was born. And Ashwathama is the next warrior that Dronacharya mentions in this verse. Like Kripacharya, Ashwathama was also one of the 7 Chiranjeevis. Chiranjeevis mean one who is born not to die. There are 7 Chiranjeevis mentioned in Mahabharata. it is stated, Markandeya Balhi Vyasah Ashwathama Hanumanscha Vibhishnah Kripascha Parshuramah Ashtchiran Jivinah. That there are these 8 immortals, Markandeya Rishi, Bali, Vyasadev, Ashwathama, Hanuman, Vibhishan, Kripacharya and Parshuram, who will remain alive through the end of this Kali Yuga. Ashwathama was born to Dronacharya and his wife Kripi. Dronacharya did penances for several years to please Lord Shiva in order to obtain a son who possessed the same powers as Lord Shiva. As Srila Gurudev explains in his commentary, that Ashwathama was a combination of portions of Lord Shiva, the god of death Yama, and of lust and anger. He was born with a gem in his forehead, and this gave him very special powers over everyone else. He was protected from hunger, thirst, and fatigue. He learned the scriptures and the science of weaponry from his father Dronacharya and was a very powerful fighter. On the 10th day of the battle of Kurukshetra, when Bhishma Pitamaha fell down, then Dronacharya was named the supreme commander of the armies. Krishna knew that it would be difficult to defeat Dronacharya. Then, as we discussed before, he made a plan to have Bhim kill an elephant whose name was also Ashwathama, and Yudhishthir declare that Ashwathama was dead. Thinking that his son was dead, Dronacharya lost all desire to live and gave up his weapons, and at that time by Drishtadyumna. Seeing this, Ashwathama became extremely enraged and he unleashed a very special weapon called Narayan Astra, which was gifted by his father. This particular weapon had the capability to destroy one Akshauhani Sena. One Akshauhani is a unit of army that comprised of 21,870 chariots, 21,870 elephants, 65,610 horses, and 109,350 soldiers. So this one weapon alone had the capability to destroy so many warriors, chariots, elephants and horses. When Krishna saw that Ashwathama has unleashed this weapon, he advised everyone from the Pandavas' army to simply surrender to this weapon and lie down on the ground. This will render the power of this weapon useless. That's how they were able to pacify Narayan Astra. After Dushasan's death, Ashwathama suggested to Duryodhan that he should make peace with the Pandavas, keeping in mind the welfare of Hastinapur. However, Duryodhan refused. When Duryodhan was struck down by Bhima during the battle and he was now facing imminent death, he made Ashwathama the commander-in-chief of his army and asked him to take revenge for the death of all the Kauravas. Ashwathama, who was a very close friend of Duryodhan, agreed and then planned along with Kripa and Kritvarma to unlawfully, in a very irreligious manner, attack the camp of Pandavas in the night. In those days, this was the rule that after the sunset, the armies will rest, they will not fight, and many times they will even sit together and eat and talk and discuss different things. So no one would fight in the night time. However, against these rules of war, Ashwathama along with Kripa and Kritvarma attacked the camp of Pandavas. At that time, Krishna had taken the Pandavas, the 5 Pandavas, away to some other place While Kripa and Kritvarma guided the exits from the camp, Ashwathama attacked the various warriors who were that time sleeping. He killed Drishtadyumna, Shikhandi, Yudhamanyu, Uttamaja, and finally, looking for the Pandavas and mistaking their 5 sons to be the Pandavas, he killed these 5 sons who are also called as Upapandavas. He then went to Duryodhan to tell him the news. Duryodhan was very pleased to know that the lineage of the Pandav dynasty has been completely destroyed. The next morning, when the Pandavas returned and learnt about this dreadful incident, they became inconsolable. They went searching for Ashwathama and found him in sage Vyasadev's ashram. On seeing the Pandavas, Ashwathama became very fearful, and as the last resort to protect himself, devised a very special astra called Brahm Shirsha Astra from a blade of grass and invoked it against the Pandavas and Shri Krishna. This specific astra is an evolution of the Brahmastra, and Arjun also invoked the same astra to counter what Ashwathama had thrown against them. Shri Vyasadeva, seeing these 2 powerful weapons heading against each other for a head-on collision, knew that this would result in total annihilation of the entire earth. He thus asked both Arjun and Ashwathama to withdraw their weapons. Arjun was able to withdraw this weapon, but Ashwathama was not taught by Dronacharya how to withdraw this weapon. Thus, he could use this weapon only once. He was asked to deviate the weapon towards an uninhabited place so that it could explode harmlessly. However, instead of doing that, Ashwathama directed it towards the womb of Uttara, who was the wife of Abhimanyu, and in whose womb the son of Abhimanyu and the only heir to the Pandav dynasty was present. However, as we discussed before, Shri Krishna personally protected this child, who later on became known as Parikshit. Ashwathama was captured and brought in front of Draupadi, and Bhim was ready to kill him, but Draupadi, knowing that he was a Brahman and the son of the Guru Dronacharya, wanted to pardon him. That time Shri Krishna said that dishonor for a Brahman is as good as his death. Therefore, as a punishment, the gem from the forehead of Ashwathama was taken out, and Shri Krishna cursed him that for 3,000 years he will roam in the forest with blood and pus oozing out of his injuries. It is said that Ashwathama is still alive, and there are many stories of people having spotted him. After Ashwathama, the next warrior mentioned in this verse is Vikarna. Vikarna was the 3rd Kaurava, or the 3rd son of Maharaj Dhritarashtra and Gandhari. Vi means special or very large or without, and Karna means ears. So Vikarna means one who did not listen to anyone because he was very self-esteemed, or someone who listens and captures the wisdom through his large ears. Unlike Duryodhan, Vikarna was very religious. During the game of dice in which the Pandavas were defeated by Duryodhan in an irreligious fashion, and Draupadi was brought into the court to be disrobed by Dushasan, Vikarna raised his voice against this whole thing and the mistreatment of Draupadi. He echoed the questions that Draupadi had asked from the Kuru elders, demanding that her questions be answered. However, his protests were met with silence, even from elders like Bhishma and Dronacharya. At that time, he had mentioned that this insult of Draupadi is an affront to the entire Kuru clan, and if her questions are not answered, and if this mistreatment is done to her, this will result in the annihilation of the entire Kuru dynasty. However, despite his misgivings and disagreement with the line of thought of his elder brother Duryodhan, he still fought on the side of Duryodhan, just like Kumbhakaran, who was a younger brother of Ravan, did not agree with Ravan having kidnapped Sita, but still, being the younger brother, was very devoted to Ravan and fought on his side. After the killing of Abhimanyu, when Arjun was navigating the Chakravyuh of Drona in order to reach and kill Jayadratha, Bhim was trying to reach Arjun. That time Duryodhan sent Vikarna to check Bhima's advance. Bhima had sworn to kill all of the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra. However, he called on Vikarna that he was a man of religion and advised him to step aside. Vikarna that time, even though knowing that Kauravas would not win the war against a side where Shri Krishna was personally present, said that he could not forsake Duryodhan. At that time, Bhim reminded him of the injustice that was done during the game of dice and how Vikarna himself had criticized his brother. Vikarna that time replied that was my duty then and this is my duty now, so therefore I need to fight with you, O Bhima. Bhima then killed Vikarna in a mace fight, and his death brings tears to the eyes of Bhima, and he lamented, O Vikarna, you were just and knew what was dharma. You fought in loyal obedience to the call of duty. Indeed, this battle is a curse upon us, wherein men like you have had to be slaughtered. Then Duryodhan mentions Somadatta, who was a son of Bahilika and a grandson of King Pratik of the Kuru dynasty. In the battle of Mahabharat, he was killed by Satyaki. Finally, Bhurishrava is mentioned. Shri Gurudev explains that Bhurishrava was the son of King Somadatta in the dynasty of the moon Chandravansha. He was a highly courageous and famous king. In the Mahabharat conflict, he was killed by Satyaki. We will continue discussing the next verse next time. Till that time, Hare Krishna, Radhe Radhe, and have a very blessed day.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.